Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Health Minister says Dominica better prepare to handle any future resurgence of COVID-19. The Entrepreneurship Visa Program expected to boost the local business sector through foreign investment. And Senior Minister Reginald Austri accuses the opposition of misleading the nation on the issue of the Prime Minister's accommodation. The details of the news coming up.
Avec Flow, animé on top up, sign up, quittez yo, every video join Flow. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
Are you still washing your hands regularly, wearing your mask in public, and practicing social distancing? 0 cases does not mean COVID-free. Stay home if you're not well to keep others from getting sick. Continue to avoid crowds in public spaces. Always keep your guard up. We're still fighting this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
First up in the news, the leader of the parliamentary opposition has raised a strong objection to Cabinet's efforts to provide rental accommodation for the Prime Minister. Opposition leader Lennox Linton has invited members of Cabinet to search their consciences on the matter of whether they were being true to their oath to uphold the Constitution.
On or about the 9th of June 2020, Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet of Dominica met and authorized the rental of a property from Mercury Properties Development Limited for the accommodation of the Prime Minister. The amount authorized is $32,000 per month, $384,000 per year. This amount is not included in the 2020-2021 expenditure estimates now before this House for approval, or at least not under the head D30, Office of the Prime Minister, Program Code D30, M100, M17, Prime Minister's official residence. The Constitution provides at Section 77 for parliamentary approval of all expenditure from the public purse. At the time of the Cabinet decision to rent the Mount Daniel residence for the Prime Minister, $32,000 monthly, there was no request for parliamentary approval and therefore no parliamentary approval for this particular charge on the public funds. The Finance and Administration Act and the Procurement Act provide regulations against wasteful, uneconomical spending in the procurement of public services. This means, in effect, that the rule of law demands adherence to the command of Parliament that spending of public funds must reflect value for money.
Various members on the government side spoke to this issue, including Senior Minister Austri.
They go through the estimates, Mr. Speaker. All have been said, so much have been said. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the residence for the Prime Minister is not an issue of cost for the leader of the opposition. The leader of the opposition does not want to see anybody live in decent accommodation, Mr. Speaker. When the Prime Minister's rent in Belfast was $3,000, he was making noise about it. When the Prime Minister's rent before the hurricane was $10,000 Mount Daniel, he was making trouble about it. When we constructed a residence for the President, he said that if he ever becomes Prime Minister, he will turn the President's residence into a cultural center. Mr. Speaker, into a cultural center. it appears to me that the leader of the opposition have serious our little housing, we cook it, we building for poor people of this country, Mr. Speaker. The opposition said when they get into government, they would stop the housing program.
Austri says the opposition leader's argument about the cost of accommodation for the Prime Minister is not genuine.
The leader of the opposition, in his contribution, 1 hour and 36 minutes, he said they're trying to ramp up this car in this country using a 64,000 figure. Only he knows where that figure came from. Because when you look at the estimates for this year, it speaks to $384,000. Last year's estimate spoke to $544 for the Prime Minister's residence, its maintenance and its operating costs. The year before, the estimate spoke to $566,000. Because, Mr. Speaker, we were in the process of finding new residents for the Prime Minister, that figure was reduced to $387,000. And they add another $300 to it and make it. But there is no reference to any other $3,000 in the estimates. If this is not malicious and deliberate, then what else it is? Tell me what it is, Mr. Speaker. 384, that is what's been budgeted for, and any other sums that will be appropriated to the Prime Minister's residence will have to come to this Parliament via supplementary estimates. But through supplementaries. So you have to wait and see whether we bring in any measure here in the Parliament for supplementary estimate to add to the Prime Minister's residence, Senator Sanford. That is how it's done.
Dominica may not have had or recorded any COVID-19 related deaths so far, but the Minister for Health says that's all the more reason to be better prepared for any resurgence in the future. Dr. McIntyre says significant progress continues to be made in capacity building within the health sector to better position Dominica to handle COVID-19 events. He says one important area of progress is in PCR testing. These developments are facilitated within a new lab at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital.
When we talk about lab, it really means a lot to us. Our lab, can you imagine recently what we did, and I must thank the Minister for National Security, that we could get a biotechnical engineer to come and install a biosafety cabinet at our lab. Now, with this biosafety cabinet, we have an entire cabinet meant for COVID. So initially we had a biosafety cabinet, it was being shared by the different departments. We've gotten one specifically for COVID. So now, Mr. Speaker, let alone the fact that we have PCR capacity, which other OECS islands might not have, I know some of them don't have. And we have capacity. So now, we don't only do 25 PCR tests in a day, we've brought it up to 100 PCR tests in a day. Mr. Speaker, we can do 100 PCR tests in a day. Let alone this, we're going to get an automated extractor. With the automated extractor, we're going up to hundreds in a day. That is where we're looking ahead. So when we get this automated extractor, that is when we can be going to hundreds a day. That is how we're looking ahead. Not because we're COVID-free that we're sitting down and sleeping on us. No, we're thinking ahead. The more we can have, the better we can have. That's the better prepared we can be.
Dominica expects to receive another PCR machine from Germany.
And this one, the Minister of Trade is pleased because this will be placed at the Center of Excellence in Stockfarm. And there we have more PCR capacity. So can you imagine we having a lab at our hospital that does PCR, etc.? And we'll be having the public lab at the stock farm at the Center of Excellence where we can do PCR, even more PCR again, Mr. Speaker. We have chemistry machine at our lab at the hospital, state of the art. And this can also do the serological testing for COVID. As a matter of fact, it's being validated now. So we can do even more than 100 serological COVID tests, that's the blood test for the antibody, at our lab at the PMH. This is because of our new chemistry machine, which can also do the other things such as troponin for heart attacks and all our hormonal tests, and can do A1C. We already do A1C, but with that machine, we can actually do more.
One of the policy initiatives included in the 2020-2021 national budget seeks to attract more foreign investment for the country. Prime Minister Skerrit has been explaining how the entrepreneurship visa program should work and benefit the country. The program will help capitalize established Dominican businesses.
Many people, they would like to expand their opportunities, but they may not have access to the financing. And so what we're seeking to do is to attract people with money who can come into Dominica, either start their own business or invest in an existing business or go into a joint venture with Dominican. So you must have the investment in Dominica. And then we would provide that person with a residency permit or residency status in Dominica. And I believe that if we properly implement it and market it, there are benefits to be had from this. And it is something we've been talking about for some years now. And I'm happy finally that we in the government are advancing it. And I look forward to its implementation. We'll be putting a task force in place to help us fashion it and model it and have a private sector group manage it on behalf of the government going forward.
Government has taken policy decision in the current budget to facilitate small businesses, but the Prime Minister says there can be challenges accessing such funding.
Then we have the $30 million program over the next 3 years at 1% for small businesses. Now, I have said to people, we do not want to compete with the banks or the credit unions. But we believe that the banks and the credit unions, generally speaking, are not small business friendly for one reason or the other. Whether people are not paying their loans before, they're risk averse and so forth, and we respect that. So I'm not criticizing any one bank or credit union, I'm making a general statement. And this is why we have come in to provide financing over the years, whether it's to NDFD or to the Aid Bank or through the small business unit. We have provided financing for the small businesses over time. This is the first government that established a unit directed at small business development. During the COVID period, I met with about no less than 80 small business owners. And I recognize that access to financing is a major challenge.
2 areas identified as composting sites to help extend the lifespan of the Fokole landfill. Andrea Louis reports.
The landfill, which began operations in 2005, is inching closer to the end of its lifespan, as such a disposal area is generally predicted to be operational for 10 years. In the recent past, efforts have been made to extend the life of the landfill, which have been seen some level of success. General Manager of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, Florian Mitchell, says one of the actions by government and the corporation by extension to increase the life of the landfill is to establish 2 facilities which will deal solely with composting material.
Having one central landfill and having all the waste coming to that landfill is not good practice. So we are seeking to have some interventions that would allow mainly for organic material to be disposed elsewhere. So we're looking to establish a few locations throughout the island that would help reduce on our organic contents coming to the landfill. I mean, why bring that material to the landfill? Why not set up a facility where that organic content can be turned into compost? So you'd have more like composting facilities.
The corporation has earmarked 2 areas in the country which could be used as composting sites, and designs have to be finalized before work on any of the locations can begin.
We have identified 2 locations, in one location in the north of the island and another location within the eastern part of the island that can be utilized for the said purpose. You have to design the facility to receive the material, and I want the public to be mindful of when they hear waste disposal, we are not looking to erect a landfill in the north of the island or to erect a landfill on the eastern part of the island. Organic material can be turned into compost, so we are not going to take your garbage and put it in the north or put it in the east. That's not what we are seeking to address. Our organic content, it is of value. We can take that compost and put it back in our farms. We could sell it. It could be a revenue generating activity.
Mitchell says when the composting sites come on stream, it will greatly ease the pressure on the Fokole landfill.
Seeing that the landfill in itself is nearing the lifespan, so you need to ensure that your projects and your programs to help reduce, again, the whole issue is to reduce the volumes that are actually coming to the landfill. So, I mean, those initiatives on the program, we should have done it a few years back. But nevertheless, the time is now, and we are seeking to ensure that we can implement those projects. We're hoping that we would have all the documents before the end of the year, and then we'd look at financing options. We are also looking at external support through friendly government agencies, let's say the Japanese, the Koreans, and the Chinese, you know. So we'll be also seeking those form of external support.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
With Flow, when I bag our money, cash out, get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
Yo, check this. Flow is giving away $30,000 in cash.
Oh, yeah.
2 bags of money plus a grand every Friday.
With Flow is better every day, and now we're making parties great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up.
$10 more.
Sign up.
Just switch to Flow.
Get a plan.
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
With Flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
Are you still washing your hands regularly, wearing your mask in public, and practicing social distancing? 0 cases does not mean COVID-free. Stay home if you're not well to keep others from getting sick. Continue to avoid crowds in public spaces. Always keep your guard up. We're still fighting this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
A special grant to assist young entrepreneurs negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic to be rolled out soon. Here is Andrea Louis with the details.
The push for the grant money being spearheaded by the International Organization for Migration IOM for disbursement through the Dominica Youth Business Trust DYBT. The IOM is currently lending support to the DYBT to help develop young entrepreneurs through the DYBT IOM Hub. Community Engagement Officer with the IOM, Maxine Aline Esprit, says the grant will go a long way towards helping the young business owners who were negatively impacted by the pandemic.
The project is pushing a request to the donor that we can give, that DYBT will be in a position to give COVID support grants to their clients, to a couple of their clients who have suffered from the effects, the negative effects of COVID. So in addition to the $24,000 that we have already committed towards the Business Plan Innovation Awards and also towards special grants at the discretion of DYBT, we are also making the case that entrepreneurs have suffered from COVID as everybody else has, and that there is a need for maybe some special grants to support some entrepreneurs who have undergone who have been negatively affected.
The IOM is also looking to create an investment in literacy training program as a result of the pronouncement of an entrepreneurial visa, which was made during the 2020-2021 national budget presentation as part of efforts to boost small businesses in the country.
There are entrepreneurs who need to be able to scale up, who need investors for them to grow their business. But there are 2 things. 1, finding the investors, and 2 is preparing the entrepreneurs themselves for this kind of interaction. If someone were to approach them and say, I'm interested in investing in your business, will they know what to look out for? What is it that the entrepreneur wants? What it is that they, as the entrepreneur, would be giving up? And what would be the potential benefits, and what must they look out for? So we are working on developing an investment literacy training program as part of the services of the hub, so to help the young entrepreneurs to be more prepared for some of the things that the government of Dominica is seeking to put in place.
Steady progress on the renovation of Dominica's two main cultural centers. Rehabilitation works on the Old Mill Cultural Center in Canefield and Arak House of Culture in Roseau began in 2019 with the subsequent extensions to the deadline as the scope of works grew. The Chief Cultural Officer says work on the stage at the Old Mill Cultural Center, which constitutes phase 1 of the upgrade project, is nearing completion.
At the Old Mill, they're now cladding the stage itself with wood, because while it has a concrete base, but they're putting wooden cladding on top so that it becomes a wooden stage. And then after that, they have to do the extension of the roof, which the extension would be steel and galvanized, because about half of the roof is concrete, but the other half would be the... So we are maybe about, 85% complete with the stage at the Old Mill, so the work is progressing. After that, we still have a phase 2, which would be the washrooms and dressing rooms.
As regards the Arak House of Culture, Mr. Lawrence reports there has been significant progress, though a lot remains to be done.
A lot of what they call the cladding inside of Arawak has taken place. The stage has been more or less completed. They've been working on the electricals and the plumbing, and the air condition units are going to be installed very soon. Of course, there's still a lot more to be done. There is the whole front of the Arawak, the facade, which has to be designed by the artists. They will be starting on that very soon. And the foyer, as you enter Arawak, the bar, and so. And then you have the chairs that have to be installed. The chairs are in Dominica. Carpeting, and then the finishing touches like the curtain, what they call the cyclorama, which is like the backdrop, and stage lights and sound, and so.
If all goes according to plan, renovation work should be finished by the end of 2020. And the Pan American Health Organization has taken notice of Dominica's accomplishments in the area of vaccination against the HPV virus known for causing cervical cancer in women. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, has selected the La Plaine Health District for an award in that regard. The human papillomavirus is an important cause of morbidity and mortality in women and an essential global public health priority.
Our immunization program through our healthcare system, we had 95% over the past 10 years of immunization. And the good news is that, can you imagine, we also getting the HPV vaccine to all our 11 and 12-year-olds and our grade 5, such that PAHO, not OECS or CARICOM, PAHO has selected Dominica for the Immunization Week of the Americas. And we're supposed to have a function here. That was supposed to have been here in May. And at that Immunization Week of the Americas, where all the countries under the Pan American Health Organization will be here, and the District of La Plaine was supposed to have been singled out for an award and a trophy for achieving 100% HPV vaccination in the La Plaine Health District. Mr. Speaker, PAHO is the one that selected the La Plaine Health District for this award. This means a lot. This is a very expensive vaccine, and the government of Dominica is giving this vaccine to all grade 5 and 11 and 12-year-olds free of charge.
According to the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, HPV is the cause of cervical cancer, the fourth most common cancer among women. Overall, Dominica's primary healthcare system is reportedly making significant strides.
With 12 polyclinics in this little island, can you imagine? We have more polyclinics than Barbados. With the healthcare system that Barbados has, we actually have more polyclinics, and maybe the most polyclinic per capita in the entire CARICOM. We have more than Barbados. So when we look at this primary healthcare system, Mr. Speaker, so first and foremost, we have to know that all the services there are free of charge. Secondly, we have 24-hour service at these 7 days a week at all these primary health cares, all these polyclinics that are going to be built. At these health centers, We have HIV rapid testing. Where do you hear that in the world, in all rural areas? We have rapid HIV testing at our 7 health districts, Mr. Speaker. That is serious business. That is what this healthcare system is all about.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts, with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Are you still washing your hands regularly, wearing your mask in public, and practicing social distancing? 0 cases does not mean COVID-free. Stay home if you're not well to keep others from getting sick. Continue to avoid crowds in public spaces. Always keep your guard up. We're still fighting this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
With Flow, win a bag of money, cash out, get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
Yo, check this. Flow is giving away $30,000 in cash.
Oh, yeah.
2 bags of money plus $1,000 every Friday.
With Flow is better every day, and now we're making Fridays great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up.
$10 or more.
Sign up.
Just switch to Flow.
Get a plan.
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
With Flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. Health Minister says Dominica better prepared to handle any future resurgence of COVID-19. The entrepreneurship visa program expected to boost the local business sector through foreign investment. And the senior minister, Reginald Austria, accuses the opposition of misleading the nation on the issue of the Prime Minister's accommodation. You may access the news on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.